Kangas, the team that plays to win for you and me.
Slow ball worked away. There it is. There's the 100 for Ricky Ponting. What a wonderful performance from him. He is absolutely elated, as you can imagine. The skipper getting a century in a World Cup final. His teammates are on their feet. They're delighted as well. That's his 13th one-day international 100 for Australia. His 5th as captain and his 2nd in this World Cup.
Welcome everybody to the 100th episode. Big Chief here. Just like to congratulate Bazza on the 100th episode of the Shimboners podcast. I started out as a little thought of yours about 15 months ago in late 2023. And we've got 100 up, can you believe it? Almost as fast as the great man and fellow Launcestonian and fellow Shimboner, the great Ricky Ponting, who gave the intro there, one of his many hundreds. Well done.
Oh, thank you, and welcome back to our loyal Shimboner audience. It's a pleasure, and looking forward to doing a lot more than 100. We'll get to 1,000. Don't you worry about that with our Shimboners that we love. Now, what was Punt to be more pumped about? The 100 he made in the World Cup? Maybe not. Or the 100th episode of the Shimboners podcast.
Be up and about, I reckon.
On today's pod, we might not be as up and about as we've started, as we're going to review yesterday's 6-goal loss against the Crows, as well as talk some other North news throughout the week. But like every week, we start our review with the biggest takeaway. And like every week, you haven't thought of it, so I'll go first while you have a think. And my biggest takeaway is we didn't give up the fight. We stopped the run of goals, but we just lacked polish. Now, that start to the game, we conceded the first 4 goals. Previous years, we've seen the same story where we drop our heads and we lose that game by 80 points. A bit of a concerning trend because that's 2 out of 3 weeks we've started poorly, because against the Dogs we also conceded the first 4 goals. The positive being that we fought our way back, but we've got to stop putting ourselves in spots like that, I think. What is your biggest takeaway?
Well, I agree with yours, but I'll go that the Foss has got the best blind turn in football. How often do we see it? Can't be tackled. He cannot be tackled. He did 2 in a row. He did the 720 blind turn there at one stage. How fantastic. And he's coming along just nicely.
I'm going strong off the top, and I'm going to say he is untackleable.
Untackleable?
That's you won't find that in the dictionary, but you just lock that in. He's untackleable. He's very strong through the hips.
Yeah.
Very B. Cunnington-like, except I'll tell you what, his time trial was a bit better than Cunner's. And yes, for those who might be new, Cunner's is my favourite Shimbone of all time, and that was the only thing he couldn't do was run.
Yes, was win the 3K time trial. But and he's got the jai step with spin, hasn't he? He's really coming along nicely. I was pretty proud of the boys because when it was 4 goals to nothing in their home deck with 50,000 bloody Crow Eaters screaming.
And 23 Crows falling.
And I thought we were playing the AFL, the Brisbane AFLW side, because I've never seen a male team scream for free kicks as much as the Crows did.
Yeah, and fall over with the wind.
We know that the Brisbane girls do it a lot, and we've witnessed that a few times. But they kept fighting back. 4 down, came back, got 3 or 4 goals down again, came back. We came back about 3 times, which is really pleasing because I think this time last year it might have been an 80-point loss.
Yeah, and it goes to show the maturity of the group, and it validates the decision to bring in those experienced heads, which we'll touch on all of them later on. But we had a milestone game, 600 up for the little wee man, the angry little man, Clarko.
And he's starting to get a little bit angry,
My
which
God,
I like.
he was.
I like.
He had to turn around a couple of times because he would have been dropping Fs and probably eyeing off which part of the wall he was going to punch in with some of those stupid turnovers that have infected our game for a long, long time. And we are starting to get past those, but they are still in our game. And he's getting angry. He's getting that shit in him. And that's what I want, because for too long it's been accepted that we're on a learning path. But it seems now he's ready to see some results. And the bar has been raised of what is an acceptable performance, and could have been a lot worse, but we'll unpack that shortly. Let's start with team news. And you and I were speaking about, we had a bit of a debate about whether Griffin Logue would play, so I'll give myself the points again because the club didn't pick him, and I reckon he would have been right.
Hang on, you said don't play him even if he's right, give him another week, and I said no, let Kevin do his magic. And then you wanted Kevin on the watch list.
Oh.
And then Kevin's obviously listening. Kevin White, the head of physio at North, and thought, oh, gee, I'm not going on the watch list, so we'll give him another week.
But, no Logue, so they back Pink in after a fairly strong showing, and I thought he was pretty serviceable on Tex.
I thought he was good. He won a lot of one-on-ones, and Tex kicked 4, but he kicked 2 out of the ruck contest, so we can't blame Toby for that. And to keep Tex effectively to 2... I thought he did pretty well.
He did.
And better than I expected, to be honest.
Right, well, I had this earmarked for later, but I'm going to go strong off the top. What does David King say every time on First Crack?
Don't get beaten by what you know.
And Tex has done it for 10 years. And we used to let Hawkins do it. He did it for 15.
Yeah, I know.
And it's poor
You
because...
better explain what you're talking about for those who aren't over it.
Goals out of the ruck. And Darling, the first one was terrible because you just don't jump. You get in a little wrestle so he can't grab it, and if he does, you tie him up straight away. Darling jumps. Obviously, we know when you're in the air, a lot easier to manoeuvre. He gets pushed under it. Tex grabs it, goals.
Yep.
And the second one, which shocked me, was Big X.
I know.
He's got out-muscled by him.
Yeah, just the timing of the bump. I think Tex did it beautifully. And our guys should. You got to be grounded, especially Big X. He's a lot taller than him.
I'll give X the little out that he had a bit of a dodgy hammy, so that's a blip on the radar because he doesn't get out-muscled very often. But let's get into our match notes. So the first quarter we've already touched on a little bit, but Adelaide kicked 4 goals, 1. We kicked 3-3. We were very wasteful early, particularly when we had some of the ball. As I mentioned, Darling was poor in that one-on-one against Tex. The delivery inside 50, it was the tumble ruse. Because I felt so sorry for our forwards because the delivery was shocking. It was bouncing 3 times on its end before it got to them. It was just really poor use. And in a day where I thought our mid's soundly beaten, it's just not good enough. And a lot of them were uncontested out the front of packs, and it's just poor kicking.
Yeah, I thought we went back into our shell, the midfield. We went dump kicks. We didn't handball a chain out like we did against Melbourne to get someone free, shoulders forward, who could deliver it long or short. But it was just, pressure, dump kick. And then when we, in general play, when we kicked it, we kicked really long to a pack of at least 3-on-3. And then they just cleaned up the ground ball every time. It was so annoying.
And what it does do is it doesn't allow your forwards to get to work, your Constantes to apply forward pressure, because it's out of there before they get to the contest.
Yep, and they just outnumbered us, and then we're able to use the ball with a handball chain, which we couldn't, and then hit the short target to let them reset and go forward. Yeah,
another negative I want to touch on, and I know that he can be a bit of a whipping boy of mine, but Darcy Tucker, you've played enough football. He got across and didn't take the mark, did a double fist, which is bad enough, but he didn't kill it. He didn't kill it over the line, spoiled a soft drop, Adelaide got it, went down, goal.
Well, he did improve, but that was a terrible moment because how are most AFL scores, where do they start?
From the back 50.
Yeah, with an intercept. So if you get both hands to it, you've got to intercept it. Otherwise, we're just not going to improve. We've got to get that intercept mark. And we saw Chom against Melbourne do it, and he had both hands uncontested and went safety. You don't win anything being safe.
But even if you're in an uncompromising position and you have to do the double fist spoil, which we don't want to see anyway, but you've got to kill it. You just have to get that over the line. And that really hurt us. But the biggest tick for me is we never kick red time goals, and we kicked 3 to emphatically respond, which was great to see, and again a sign of maturity. But it all started with Zerha, lowered his eyes, little dart inside 50 to hit Larky up on the lead, and just that better use. Our forwards are able to create separation, so we just got to honour the lead as well. And I don't think, in a greater note, you're talking about the D50, there's not enough movement. It's just stand and kick it to a pack. There's got to be players presenting, and if they do, the users out of the back 50 need to find them.
Yeah.
And honour the lead.
Yeah, exactly. You're talking about coming out of D50.
Yes.
Yeah, we couldn't get it out. Little mini helmet had a bit of a shocker by his standards.
He did, but I also feel sorry for him in a way because a lot of the time he just gets told just to kick it long to the pack. So his great use is his 20 to 25 metre kicks. We need someone to at least create an option. I'm not saying he has to go every time, but there's just too much just standing still down the line. And that'd have to be a directive from the coaching group.
Yeah, well, that surprised me because we've got to change angles coming out. That's why we got him. I think he tried to a few times and it was either not 15 or miss the target. I've never seen him miss so many targets.
No.
And I've watched a fair bit of him when he was at the Dogs.
Paul Curtis, his pressure, great to kickstart and get our first goal. Bit of a tombstone pile driver for the wrestling fans out there. That was really good. I want to give a big shout out to our back six, particularly whipping boys, Lukey McDonald, who was great all game, and Aidan Core, who also I thought was really impressive. And we've spoken a bit about Toby Pink, but I mean, he's playing on an All-Australian, a bloke who's kicked 500 plus goals and did a really good job on him one-on-one.
And their entries were a lot better than ours and more often. So I thought he did a really good job on him. I don't think he could have done much more than what he did.
I agree. Going to the second quarter, Adelaide kicked 4-4, we kicked 2-2. I thought LDU lifted at the start of that quarter. He's been a bit quiet and just in a greater LDU chat. He's having less disposals but more impact, I think. But this is where the midfield mix comes into conversation because you want him in there more and he's resting forward and we're not being able to use him because even when he's there and create space, we can't hit the target. But I think he has to be in there more because we look such a better team when he's dancing around and creating space for his teammates.
Yeah, but we can't have this many midfielders and them all have minutes in there.
That's what I'm saying. I think we've got to drop one of them.
Okay, I reckon I know who that's going to be. But you're bringing one in about probably after gather round.
Yeah, that's
my man George will be back, and then you'll see some fire and brimstone.
Oh yeah, and that's just the competition for spots is going to heat right up. And
yes, but you won't. Well, what I'm saying is, I think we're always going to play extra midfielders. So LDU used to probably get 80%, 85 in there. The only time he wasn't in there effectively he was on the bench. Well, now he's going to have the same time on ground, but he's going to be forward more. So it's just the evolution of the team.
Yeah, some more negatives from the second quarter. We got outmarked way too much when we're kicking down the line. When it's a set play and you know it's coming and there's a pack, you just got to at least create a contest. I thought Darling was pushed under the ball at times too easily. I thought Larky competed really well all day and did take some contested marks, but there was even a couple on him with Mark Keane that he just had to create a contest, and that just kills you when you're trying to get that momentum and territory and you're just allowing easy intercept marks.
Yeah, exactly. You just got to halve the contest. I think that's it. Long down the line's the last resort. So if you're going to do that, at least get it 50-50, get it out of bounds.
It's the David Noble plan.
Well, that was his first resort. That was his luxury escape type resort.
Let's talk about some positives from that quarter. Actually, one more. Toby Pink, as well as he played, he had a terrible moment in the second quarter where he left his man but didn't commit. So he sort of half went, half came back, and it allowed the easy...
You got to fully go. Once you go, whether you're right or wrong, you've got to go because you got stuck in no man's land. Exactly. And that was one of his poorer moments, but then we think he's only a second-year player, isn't he? Mm. But, yeah, he just had to go because I think if he'd have kept coming at 100%, he probably could have affected the kick. Maybe smothered it, at least made him kick it high or kick it wide rather than get caught in nowheres, man. You're ineffective. So if you make the decision to go, whether it's right or wrong, you're not going to get back. Because they had too many out-the-back goals, didn't they, where they're all running into space. So if you're not going to be shoulder-to-shoulder with your man, you try and get up and bring the frontal pressure, that's fine, but you don't then change your mind halfway through because that just leaves you dead in the water.
I thought we had zero dare as well. I mean, we saw that dare pay off against Melbourne. Adelaide, to that credit, did shut off the corridor, but there was opportunities there to take the kick, and we went the safe route. And you made a good point to me when watching the game that we just needed more handball around the stoppage. It was just a lot of panic, get the ball and dump it long.
First possession was kick it, whereas it should have, last week it was at 1-2 handballs, so someone would be running free and be able to make a good decision on what to do with the ball and have a little bit more time to execute. Whereas we got hands on the ball a lot first and then got tackled. Well, that annoys me, but I mean that does happen. But then there's just a second stoppage. But just got to get that quick release handball. Whereas I think we then panicked a bit and went for the quick release kick, which goes 30 metres and inevitably comes back with interest.
Before we get to the second half notes, there's a player I want to talk about, and it's not Harry. I'm going to get to Harry in a bit, but Will Phillips, I'm worried about him. We see so much of footy now, it's changed. It's that into-out, isn't it? And it's about spread, and I'm not sure that he can cover the ground as well as we hope. And we've just mentioned then that potentially playing too many mids is hurting us. I think he's in big trouble of retaining his spot. I think he's good when he gets it. He's classy, he's clean. He's not getting it enough. And I think his ability to run around the ground isn't good enough either. I think he's just probably going to get squeezed out. What are your thoughts on Will?
I think he's the bottom of the pecking order for the midfielders. And I thought he was pretty good on Sunday, but then he sort of went missing. He ended up with the same possessions he has when he gets subbed off at 3/4 time. He didn't get subbed off. So, but he still ended up with 12 or 14, somewhere around that. No, it's just not enough. If you play a full game as a midfielder, you got to get up around 20. And a lot of his are handballs because he's first touch handballed out. But I'd like to see him kick it a bit more, but he just doesn't seem to be able to get in that link to be the finisher with the kick.
Yeah, and you look at how damaging Adelaide's midfield was with Saligo and Rankin as well, and you just can't be in there having the 12 to 14 disposals.
No, because these aren't damaging enough. They're just handballs.
They are. Right, let's get to some positives from the second quarter. Jai had a great crumb and then kick. I thought he really lifted. His intensity was great all day, to be fair to him. The back line held up fairly well with the amount of footy that was coming in and repeat stoppages. And
I think we started using the corridor a bit more in the second. I think the first, we didn't have the dare, as you said, but I think we started to come through the corridor a bit more, which opens up the forward line for you.
It does. Let's get to the third quarter. Adelaide kicked 5 goals, 3. We kicked 4 straight. And we had some great use in that second half, particularly from Luke Parker, who just had the vision to square it up. It was on our offensive 50 near the pocket. He's kicked it into the corridor to Darling, which resulted in a goal. And he did another one to Constanti later in the game as well. So that's the sort of thing he brings as well. He's been a little bit shaky to start, a bit fumbly. But he had a couple of class moments that shone through. What were your thoughts on Luke's game?
I thought he was good. He was in and around our best players.
Colby got involved as well. He's been really quiet to start the year, but a bit of zip and bounce and use from him as well. And that's when we started to look good. We were more daring with our ball use and we were able to punish them on the scoreboard as well.
Yeah. So he can be very damaging when he gets the ball. So we like the ball in his hands. Sometimes he runs himself into a bit of trouble, but that may be more the structure and, are people there to receive, or is he just trying to do a bit too much? Like, no doubt he got through all those. They wouldn't have been set up as well defensively in his under 18 year, and he'd have broken those lines. But they were set up pretty well defensively, and he'd be the last handball receive, and then be confronted by 2 or 3 players.
And there was definitely appeared a halftime message from Clarko that we had to be more brave with our ball use, because LDU started to drive his legs. Even Big X on the run on the left foot.
Hit him out, laced him out on the chest.
How excited did you get when that happened?
I was up and about. I won't lie, but there was one more moment with the Big X, which we're going to get to later.
No,
I was very excited. No, it's its own segment.
The people want it now.
Move, but they can wait.
Oh, gee, that's the ultimate tease work from the chief there. But, Paul Curtis, is there a more frustrating player? Because he does all things well, but he's given away too many soft frees. And to be fair, that 50-metre penalty was garbage.
When I saw it live, before they showed the replay, I thought, it's stupid, just silly. But then when they showed the replay, my God, how soft was it? How soft. Come on, umpires.
They also had a 3-on-1. We had 3 players, they had 1, and they won it and kicked a goal from that. And that really deflated the side late in the third quarter.
Yeah, was that the one? I think Chom dropped
Elmac, and I can't think who the other player was.
Hang on, that's my phone going off again. Sorry, Clark, I'll get back to you. I'm doing a pod.
Hang on. There's a first addition to the watch list.
Oh,
is
no.
you and your phone, because
No.
this is getting out of control. Sorry to the listeners who thought it might have been that ding. Anyway, let me get back to the match notes. We had too many high balls, but I want to talk about a positive, and that was Finn O'Sullivan. You've touched on him a little bit already, but let's give him his flowers. He was incredible. Untackleable is a word that I've described him with. It's not a real word, but his class and poise is awesome, and it just shows how ready players are these days. These kids come through from under 18s. We've been fortunate enough. We've had Harry, we've had Colby, and now we've got Foss.
George.
And, well, he's more your grunt player. I'm talking about your poise and sort of sidestep. But do you think he can go to the same level as those two? Obviously, a high standard that they came with in the first year.
And he's different. Like, he's low possession, high impact.
He is, because, sorry to interrupt you, but Harry and Colby, they were both having sort of their 30s. But I'd argue he's having just as much impact from his 12 to 15 that he's having.
Well, the fact that he gets out of those tackles, I mean, that's a turnover normally, isn't it? Well, he's not. He's getting out of it and driving forward. So it's they're what, elite standout moments in the game.
Yeah. Let's get to the fourth quarter, and we'll start off with a conversation that a lot of people are having online, and that North fans in general want to hear us talk about. So let's start and talk about Harry Sheezel. Obviously, slow start to the year by his standards. You and I have spoken at length off air about what to do with him. So the last quarter, he goes to half back. He has 13 or 14 touches, ends the game with 26. Do we see him play half back from now on?
Well, the other thing, he didn't just get touches. We actually looked a lot better coming out of the back line with him, because we, rightly or wrongly, it was too much left to little Caleb Daniel, and he wasn't having his best game, and then we didn't seem to have a plan B, or at least with Harry there, we've got plan A. And yeah, he turned the clock back to his first 2 years.
So I've got some stats for you that I've brought with me today.
Stats, man.
Yes, very Freddo-ish this is. I like it. I've done my prep. So it's only because I heard David King, so I'll give him credit. But last year, Harry was finished in the top 20 players in the competition for player ratings.
Yep.
So far, on the ground, out of the 44 this year, he's been 23rd, 23rd, and 22nd. And he's currently sitting outside the top 200. So very unlike him. My thoughts are that our back line is our weakest line. We've spoken at length about how many mids we have.
Yep.
We're struggling to have good use back there and break the lines. Do we send him back there for 3 weeks, say, you're our quarterback, you're our general, you have your 35, we know you'll hit the target, and get his confidence up a little bit? I'm leaning towards yes, but then I don't want to halt his progress in becoming that top tier mid that we know he is. It's an interesting.
He's obviously having a little bit of the third year blues. He's still averaging about 30 possessions.
He's still been bloody good. I just want to get this on the record. He's still been good.
Yeah, but he's just been fumbly. He's like the one X handball to him was slightly behind his back. Like the last 2 years, he'd still grabbed that, but now he can't.
He would have done probably a 2 behind the backs and then handballed over
Yeah,
his head.
exactly. He's just been a little bit fumbly, and I think just getting back there, get his confidence up. He's a better defender than Daniel. He's a better defender than McKercher. Foss is only new, so whether you take Foss out and give him a run on the wing or somewhere, or Foss could even go to half forward where Harry spends some time. I mean, the first 2 years, particularly the first year, the end, we were saying, or for the start of the second, get him in the midfield, get him forward. And this year we're saying get him forward, get him mid. But we'll have to retract just to get him back into that A+ form. Give him a month back on the half-back line. Let him take the kick-outs.
And it's all...
They'll share it with Daniel. That way they can't put all the effort into stopping Daniel being the user, because we'll have Harry there as well. So we should be able to free one of them up every time.
But my big thing is it's not only going to help him, it helps the side. And that's the main thing, because we're struggling. You see so much scores are from D50 now. You've got to be able to transition it. You've got to have better users back there. It's going to help. The flow-on effect is going to help both parties. It's going to help Harry rediscover his form. It's going to help our ball use coming out of D50.
Harry hitting up McKercher. How good's that going to be on the wing?
Yeah.
Like coming out and then McKercher can run and bounce and deliver it forward before they get set. Yeah, I like it. And it's not as if we need him in the midfield because we've got 100 midfielders. So let's put him back there, get his confidence back, and then reassess in 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah. The last couple of notes I want to touch on, thought Colby had some good use again in that fourth quarter. He's good when he gets it, but he's just not getting involved throughout the game enough. He's learning a new position. I want to put that out there.
Yeah, I think he had 19. That's pretty above average for a winger, like around 19, 20. There's not many wingers getting a lot more than that, and the ones who are probably aren't as damaging. I thought he was good when he had the ball. I thought he was in and around the votes too.
Yeah. Luke McDonald had a fantastic tackle in that last quarter, and the last player, another whipping boy I want to give some credit to, was Dylan Stevens. He came on as the sub and made an impact, and that's what you want from your sub, and he definitely did. He had 12 disposals and a goal. I mean, came on midway through the third. That's a big tick.
Yeah, that's a big tick. He had one moment where I thought he could have... No, I'm not going to say it, but he had one shaky moment, but he was good.
I don't think you have to say it. I think the listeners know.
Yeah, well, I don't like saying it, but it's an
probably could have gone harder.
It's a very area of improvement, but generally he's been improved in that area.
He went at 82% by foot as well.
Yeah, he was good. To come on, and he had impact. That's what you want your sub to do. Come on and have impact. All right. Now, let's move on to the most prestigious award in all of the AFL, the Basti. You want the new ball, seeing it's your 100th episode?
No, you can have it.
All
I had
right.
it last week. You grace us with your thoughts.
Right, well, the first thoughts was it was bloody hard to do because I don't think anyone had an outstanding four-quarter game. There were people...
I disagree.
Yeah, okay. There were people who had more... It was more a patchy game, and I was going to say, except for the bloke I gave 5 to, I thought he was solid for the whole 5 quarters. Five quarters? Well, he's getting the 5 votes. 4 quarters, he gets the 5 votes, and that was Jai Simpkin. I thought he was good. He led from the front, started in the first centre bounce.
Yes.
And I like that. And, yeah, just hard at it. Just Jai in one of his better games. I can't remember too many bad uses from him.
No, he was...
I thought he was good. And don't tell me one of the first entries where he's running flat out under pressure and he kicks it on his left foot and they get the rebound. That is not his fault. That is your man Cam's fault for not being in front, not reading the situation. When someone's under the pump running flat chat with someone about to tackle them and they're kicking it on their non-preferred, it's probably not going to go 50 metres over the back. Now, I couldn't see the whole ground on the screen, so I'll give him an out that maybe the other bloke just read it better or he was out of position thinking it was going some other way. But it's just frustrating because blind Freddie can see it's going to drop short. Anyway, I thought Jai was really good, really consistent. 4 goes to Elmac. I thought he beat his man. It was hard to see, but I thought the back line, under the weight of actually just having to defend, all did pretty well. I can't remember any bad moments from Elmac. I can remember a lot of good ones.
Well, he went... I just want to cut in quickly. He went 100% by foot.
Yeah, so we can't do better than that.
No.
It's mathematically impossible. I thought he was really good and defended with real grit and determination.
And you know what? There's not many opinions I've sort of said on this podcast and thought, oh, geez, this could come back to bite me. But if you remember last pod, I said he's back.
Yes.
Elmac is back. And I sort of thought, oh, geez, this could go...
He was good.
But I'm doubling down. He is back, baby.
Yeah, he was really good last week and unlucky not to get in my votes last week. He's getting 4 this week. 3 goes to Big X. Now, I thought he had a pretty good battle with
Riley O'Brien,
Rob. But he beat him, and how much did we miss him when he tweaked his hamstring or when it had to go off and sit on the bench? They just dominated all the stoppages in that time. One of the goals kicked by Tex in the ruck was from that. We just could not get a clearance. And when he came back on, it was so noticeable that we started winning the clearance. He was getting first hands to the ball. And his follow-up work was fantastic, as it always is. You were whinging off there that he's a bit down on tackles because you've got some of your hard-earned on him to win the tackle count for the AFL. So he still had 4, but yeah, he's normally up around the double figures.
But I'll tell you what, he made his presence known, and old Rochelle's having a 6-week spell now.
Well, that's it. Yeah, it's 6 weeks, is it? I didn't know that. I hadn't caught up with that news. Yeah,
4 to 6, but I've gone on the 6 end.
Yeah, so you just notice when he wasn't there how much we miss him. So, and probably a bit how much some people, not me, but some people may take him for granted. Because our stoppage works just so much better with him there. And we've got no one, we'll get to the VFL later, but we've got no one in the VFL who can come and do what he does. So we need him fit. So, Kevin, get onto that hamstring. 2, I gave to Aiden Core, another backman. I thought the ball was down our back line more. None of the midfielders other than Jai really stood out. And I thought Core was solid on a bloke who's bigger than him. And, yeah, I just thought Core was really good. Won enough one-on-ones. You're not going to win them all. But I thought he was good. And one I gave to Suvlaki, who kicked 4-2. I was very dirty. Didn't kick that one before half-time because that would have got us back to within a goal, which I thought was right on his range. But he did kick the one from 50.
Couldn't believe it.
Was that his first goal? I still can't believe it. I can't believe it either because there was no wind. So that was fantastic, that goal. More of that.
Well, I thought he might have travelled to Launceston with the wind on Saturday night because he flushed it.
He did flush it. So, yeah, Silver was good. He provided that when we were just bombing it long in the first quarter, he wasn't getting outmarked. It was coming to ground. Unfortunately, they had about 3 extras there. He cleaned up the mess, but that's certainly not his fault. His fault is to mark it. His job is to mark it, kick straight, or at least bring it to ground. I thought he did that most of the day. There were some unlucky players, but as I said, it was pretty hard because no one had apart from Jai, no one had a really solid 4-quarter effort.
Right, I'll go, and I've given the 5 votes to Jai as well. 31 disposals, a goal, 9 clearances, a pretty good captain's game from him. And he started the year sneakily good. When we've talked about LDU and Powell and Sherry, but not a whole lot spoken about Jai, and I think he's found his form from those couple of Sid Barker medal years. The 4 votes, and you're going on the watch list again. Nick Larkey gets the 4 for me. Talk about beating his opponent. Kicked 4 goals too on Keane. There's definitely a Larkey tax with you. We talk about the Harry tax all the time, but I don't know what more you really wanted him to do. He had the 5 marks and absolutely gave Keane a bath. And if we had have got better use, I thought he would have kicked 6 or 7 because he was getting separation from him every time. We just couldn't get it in there enough or good enough use to him. The 3 votes I've given to Elmac. I thought he was awesome, playing on a much bigger frame in Fogarty and beat him pretty well. Fogarty kicked the 2 goals, but I reckon you would have kicked 1 with some of the entry coming in there.
I kicked at least 3.
No, well, I thought Elmac was really solid and a big. He needs to get his flowers from us.
Yeah,
we've been hard on him, and all North fans have, and rightly so over the course. But he's hit the ground running. Seems like the weight of the captaincy is off him a little bit.
Yeah.
He's rediscovering his best form. 2 votes I gave to Foss. He had the 16 disposals and the 18 pirouettes. So a really impressive game. Very mature head on his shoulders. Was happy with his game. And the 1 vote I also gave to Aiden Core. I thought he did a great job on Big Thilthorpe. He did kick 3, but with the amount of ball going in there and some of the lack of pressure up the ground at times, I thought he was a good general. He took some of the kick-ins. His ball use was safe. Took a couple of intercept marks. I was happy with Core's game yesterday and thought he deserved a vote.
Yeah, it was probably a day for the back line to get their flowers, as you like to say. Back on Harry, we were talking about him before. I think maybe even just being vice captain may just be weighing on him a little bit. Maybe he just thinks he's got to, perform to another level. No, just go back to the level you've been the last two years, and that's why I didn't want him captain. I
disagree. The man is a robot. It would not affect him in the slightest.
No one's a robot.
Let's have a look at the leaderboard then. We'll go to the top 5. So Big X still in the lead on 19 votes. Jai Simpkin on 16 in second. Nick Larkey in 15th. In third. If you were doing the votes, he'd be 15th. In third on 15. Consider himself a little bit stiff not to be on more. Tom Powell and Cam Zerha round out the top 5, both on the 8 votes.
Right.
Before we get to the VFL and our listener questions to round out the pod, I've got to grind my gears, and I was so flat that Jason Dunstall ran with this because I had this earmarked in the rundown already. But clubs playing debutants as the sub. It's a disgrace. It is a disgrace. Adelaide have done it. Poor Sid Draper's played 3 games, and he's probably played 2 quarters. But the reason I hate it is, yes, it's good the young fella gets the opportunity, but these poor kids get their parents and mates. They've got 70 people watching them in the stands to do run-throughs on the boundary for 3 quarters of it. I just don't like it. I mean, I understand that it's part of the game, but I'm not a big fan of it. I think just scrap the sub rule in general.
Yeah.
But here's a grind my gears from a couple of years ago. See, it struck a chord in my brain, and I remembered Eddie Forward made the debut as the sub in COVID time when you didn't get on. You were just a medical emergency sub. So I think he played 2 games before he'd actually stepped foot on an AFL field.
So 2 games, no stats, donuts.
0 minutes played.
Not they could do much about it.
They've got to be better clubs, and they do all the promos during the week. Oh, Dad, I'm in, but I'm only playing 15 minutes. So I don't like it, and I just scrap the sub rule while we're at it.
Okay.
Right, let's get into the VFL quickly. I didn't watch a great deal of it. Had some prior commitments, but you saw most of it?
Well, I think I missed the entire third quarter, but watched the rest of the game. Didn't make any notes, but I did notice that we were winning again, and we couldn't transition the ball out of the back line, and we just threw it away. We had no way of getting out of the back line, and they just kept pumping it until they scored. I think their rucks, both monsters, Reeves and Ramsden, just too big for our guys. Although Teakle was improved on his last outing, Goad was still not great in the ruck. And your man got injured. You were just talking about him, Elvis. He got injured. He kicked the first goal of the game.
He kicked 2 in the first quarter.
Yeah, so he was looking good. And Fisher got injured as well, so I don't know how long their injuries are. I haven't had a chance to check yet.
They haven't officially posted it, but the word is that Fisher's is a concussion, so that's just the 1 or the 12 days.
Yeah, well, I didn't see that. That must happen in the third. I might have missed a bit of the second quarter as well.
It happened late in the second, I believe. And then Eddie Ford's is a hamstring. We don't know the severity of that, but hopefully not too long because he'd be making a claim to be playing in the side. I mean, he's thereabouts, isn't he?
Yeah. Now, there were some really bright, shining lights in the VFL. We only lost by a couple of goals. I thought Big Game Zane didn't have a lot of possessions, but you can tell he's a class above when he gets it because he doesn't give the first option if there's a better one. He will retain the ball for that extra second to find the best option. And I noticed that a couple of times, and I thought, your mind's quicker than this level. So let's hope he can get up and get a look. But he didn't have a lot of the ball.
Before you move on, I cannot believe some of the things I've seen on the socials criticising him and that he's a dud pick and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, his work rate wasn't there. I didn't watch the game, so I can't say. But he had a very injury-interrupted pre-season, and he's still 19. So let's just cool the jets a little bit on that.
It's way too early to make any decision. Yes, we'd like him to be playing, but they can't all play in the ones. And he'd be going better this year in our forward line than last year.
It would be, yeah.
But anyway, I thought, he just shows that he's got AFL quality, like good, high-level AFL quality in his vision and composure.
He's another Wilfield that needs to start jamming the stats sheet a little bit more, isn't he?
Yeah. But Whitlock was fantastic. He, for a bloke who's nearly 200 centimetres, his use and composure with ball in hand is next level. And it's far too... He had a lot, I think he had 10 possessions in the first quarter. And he's obviously got the height, but you don't worry when he's got the ball in his hands. And you can't say that about many AFL level, 6'6" and plus. Yeah, so he's going to be really good. And he's I wouldn't call him skinny, but he's lean. But then someone who's not skinny is big Shotgun Dawson, and he was also very good, but a bit shaky on the kicking.
And he gave away a bad 50 late as well.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing that cost us. We gave away 2 stupid 50s when they had the ball about 60 out.
Yeah.
Just made them what was probably going to be a long point or a set-up kick to the 20 out. Certain goals. Anyway, that does my head in. So hopefully Lynchy's ripped them one for that. Because you could hear him, interesting fact, the commentators were right above his box. So you could hear him yelling out instructions quite often in the commentary.
Was it PG?
Yeah, it was PG. Little Jimmy could listen. No worries. No worries at all. We're a family club.
We are.
You get a bit excited sometimes and drop a few bombs.
Oh, I try not to.
No, you don't.
I try not to.
No, I'm trying to wind you up.
I wouldn't have.
You're too cool to be wound up in your 100th. You're just a pro now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm just gonna glide that down to third man.
Yeah, that's it.
Not getting sucked into the big
Don't
drive.
even offer a shot.
No.
So the key stocks are looking good, and I noticed your man Kane, who you've jumped all on the AFL website, he had a crack at North for not recruiting any key defensive players. Well, Kane, on your $900 million a year, how about you drop down to the VFL and you see we've got two developing nicely?
He's obviously on his 85th show for the weekend.
Yeah,
not getting
he's
time.
brain dead.
Not getting time, but I just on Whitlock, I saw a passage of play where he took a mark, turned, and hit on his non-preferred into the corridor.
Yes.
I thought, wow.
Oh, that's what I thought. Yes,
So,
I thought. And I'm not saying get him in, but we'll get him in next year.
I was just about to say this. We've also got to be patient and let him develop. We don't want to expose him too early to AFL.
No, but they're great signs. Great signs.
Absolutely. Right, let's get into our listener questions. Thank you once again to everyone who sent them in. We really appreciate it, and we will just pick out a few today. So I like this one when they go a bit left field. So we'll start with a nice one. Who's your favourite and least favourite commentators / special comments? Healy and Rashudo are insufferable. Now, I watched the game on Channel 7 again because it's a novelty, because we never play on there. But I heard Jared Healy horrendous again, anti-North. Now, when you ask me for my favourites, I enjoy Chief Dunstall, big fan of him. We obviously know the best in the business, David King.
Yes.
Is really good to listen to. I don't mind Luke Hodge on Channel 7.
Yeah, so
as long as Hawthorn or Brisbane aren't playing.
Yeah, and he butchers the English language because he's a footballer, not a...
He's a boy from Colac.
He is. But, yeah, he's not bad. I can't stand Jared Healy. He should have retired 10 years ago. When KB went, he should have gone.
Yeah, and...
he's so biased. And don't even... If Sydney are playing and he's commentating, you may as well put on mute.
There's some really bad ones that I think... Like Tom Hawkins, he's only new.
Yeah, I'll give him a free pass.
Jack Rewalt, he's no good. Jordan Lewis, he's incredibly biased as well.
Yes.
And that's sort of the problem you get. But I think Kingy is good.
Little Boomer. Boomer's good on the ABC, on the radio.
I was listening to him Saturday night when I was picking you up after you'd had too many froths. But he's very good on radio. But obviously, smaller club North, he's not getting the big media spot.
But he's only the AFL record holder and All Australian Premiership player, and they could fill his CV fairly easily.
Gee, he'd probably still be playing now. He's still fit as a fiddle. And actually, this is side early waffle. But for our listeners who didn't know, I shared it on our Instagram story. He's having a boxing match against Tip Rat Ballantyne.
Yes.
In mid-April.
They'll be lined up behind Boomer to bloody hit Tip Rat.
Yeah.
Ballantyne, wouldn't they?
Good luck.
He'll be the first of many.
Good luck to Ballantyne. I'm sure he'll drop his head.
He'll drop it straight into an uppercut from Boomer. 1-2.
We'll go to Shane Jolly next, who says, who do we bring in next week? I think Tucker and RHJ, Robbie Hanson Jr. for those playing at home, are on the edge. I think, Hanson Jr. gets another week for mine because his first two were pretty solid. I thought he was horrible yesterday, and that's why he got subbed off in the end. As for Darcy Tucker, I mean, oh boy, he's hanging on, isn't he? He's 23rd picked.
Yes, and I mean, Elmac is obviously much better credentialed, but was in less bad form the last year and a half. But he's been good the last 2 weeks, or very good. So I think Tucker made a few errors, but then kept coming, contributed enough. But whether it's enough, I mean, Hardiman didn't play. He was an emergency, wasn't he? So he didn't get to push his Bergman didn't do a great deal in the VFL, I didn't think.
He doesn't. I don't think he has the poise to be an AFL footballer.
Oh, a big call.
Yeah, from what I saw, I know it's early, but it's also 3 years of seeing it.
Yes.
I don't think he can. I think he's a nice VFL player.
Yeah, okay. A bit of a Charlie Lazaro.
Yeah. And then, as for Tucker, I mean, he probably stays in this week just for matchups. Sydney have got a lot of those medium-sized forwards. Your Will Haywoods.
Yeah.
God, who's going to play on Papley? That's going to be a one for our preview pod. But I think he'll get pushed out when Jacko comes back, especially if Harry goes into defence. When George comes back, he might get pushed out as well, with Harry taking over his role as a defender. So this is all speculative, of course, but I think he's definitely not in the 18 picked to start on the field for mine.
No. And, all right, we finished. We're moving on to the news segment.
We've still got more listener questions.
Oh, we're on questions. Well, pump them out, man.
Yeah, sorry. There's a lot of questions, so I'll just summarise these ones. But LDU, a lot of people wanted to know our thoughts on him, that he's not playing up to the $1 million deal that he's being offered from the club, and that he's not stepping up enough in games.
I'm happy with him. He provides electricity and excitement when he gets it. He's playing a bit of a different role, or he's not getting. We've already covered. He's not getting the same midfield minutes he would have got in his previous 6 seasons. So, yeah, I'm not concerned at this stage.
I thought he and all our mids, bar Jai, were poor yesterday and beaten.
Yeah, I agree, but I mean it's one game out of 23. I'm not concerned.
Yeah.
At this stage, I mean. We can't talk. We're going to have to pay him over $1 million, but there's going to be 70 or 80 players paid over $1 million, and he's in the best.
Oh, I agree.
He's in the best 70 or 80 players.
I agree, but I also understand that when the game's on the line, that we want him to probably do a little bit more.
I'd like to see him do more forward. I think we saw it in a pre-season game, didn't we, where he stepped a couple of players. I think he's got that in him. I think he's got to try and kick a goal. I won't say a goal a game, but a goal every second game up forward. I haven't got the stats to see how many minutes he's playing there. I don't reckon it's an excessive amount. I reckon it's minimum forward, but I think he's got potential with his 188.
He kicked a point, which you called.
Good size.
He's not a great set shot.
I did call that. Tell the listeners.
Well, it was the one that we had about 40 out on a slight angle, and we just
from a mark or a free kick. I think it was a mark, wasn't it? And he's got to drill them. Like if you're going to be $1 million, going back to the question, if you're going to be $1.5 million a year player, you've got to kick 80% of them.
Yeah. We'll move to Nathan on Facebook, who's asked a 2-part question: is Harry injured? And we haven't really spoken about whether he could be.
There's rumours
that he's got a niggle and that he was close to not playing, which is why they chose Hardiman to be the one to be the match day sub. So that's another point we haven't really discussed. And then the second part of the question was, what's your thoughts on Caleb Daniels' game? And then he put that he thought he was extremely poor in the first half.
Yeah, it was. I agree.
Yeah, I don't think there's...
that's why when you look at our votes, we don't look at the stats.
No,
so I know I have since looked at them, and Daniel had a heap of it. But and I think he went at 83%. But there was a 17 he didn't go out. Yeah. It's really hurt us. And there is a lot of pressure in that role, and they obviously had a very good defensive grid. I'd say, watching on TV, it looked like they had a really tight defensive grid.
And I will say that disposal efficiency on the AFL app, that's very misleading, because if you kick it to a pack and it doesn't get turned over, that counts as an effective kick.
Yeah.
So that also is... I know we read it out sometimes when we do the stats, but it's not a great way to capture how good they were by foot.
No, but a bit like... We'll just give him a mulligan. We'll set him up.
Jeez, they were strong on radio, Kane and Kingy today, said it was the worst 33 disposal game they've seen.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't argue with that.
No. I know, that's the sad thing.
They watch more football than we do, although we watch a hell of a lot.
Yeah, we do. We're probably too much. Yeah. Lots of questions here that are all around the same. I like this from Bo. He says, thoughts on our midfield group being called the Bomb Squad. When they are on, they're explosive. Wait, hang on. You can't laugh before I get it out.
But I know where it's going and I like it.
When they are on, they're explosive, but when they aren't, they just bomb the ball and hope. I like it a lot. The bomb squad.
I like it. I'm writing that down. Bomb squad.
Jeez, Bo, with the very much creativity juices flowing. I like that.
We might run with that.
We might. Snake Baby. I'm concerned about Parker. Lacks pace and is getting targeted by the quickest oppo mid. Also, plan for what you know. Don't oh, jeez. You're speaking my language, Snake Baby. He's talking about the techs in the ruck, which we got a few of those.
Yeah, or do it once and then maybe tighten up. I know it was different players both times, but don't get caught twice in the same game. I don't want to be caught at all. Like you said, just keep your feet. I don't think Darling's got the greatest leap anyway, so don't bother jumping at it. Just put your huge shoulders into him and bump him out of the way.
Yes, and lots of questions as well. Thank you, everyone. The last couple have been about Riley Hardiman coming in for Tucker, which I think we've already surmised a little bit.
Yeah, fair call. And I'll save that for a preview pod.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we do have a couple of listener voice messages to get to, but before that, I want you to award your award this week.
Yes.
A little special segment.
So the True Shinbone Award goes to my man, the captain of the CCC, Big X. And you can describe why.
Well, it was that he's come in. Riley O'Brien's come in and tried to push him, and X has just stood there, not moved, and then pushed him over. And then Riley O'Brien's running away from him, and X is chasing him. It was much like for our long-term AFL watchers, a certain one with Dean Brogan and Cale Morton, where he just kept running away from him.
Yeah, so X tackled someone and, accidentally fell on him or something, didn't he? And Riley came in to try and fly the flag and went to shoulder bump him, and X just stood there and he bounced off the big, 6'7" Riley. And then you explain what happened next. But I think X wanted to go on with it and Riley ran away.
Hang on a minute. Do you know what our listeners, they're intelligent people, and this would not be getting past them. So this award's been around for 3 weeks. Let me just go through the winners. So we've had Jackson Archer
for attacking.
Hang on, I don't want to hear your reasoning. I'm just going to quickly go through them.
Okay.
Jackson Archer, Charlie Comben, and now Tristan Sherry. Hang on. This is just the CCC award.
Yeah, and if George goes well at training on Thursday, he'll probably win it next week.
Oh, there's major watch.
It's a true Shinbone Award, and what are all the CCC? Why are they in the CCC? And it's not accidental, it's coincidental, but they show those traits. That's why they got in the CCC, and they're still showing them.
I'm still flat that Foss wasn't in there when he went back with the
Foss is on a watch because he's backed into packs as a skinny 18-year-old kid, and now he's got the spin move, the blind turn, just on repeat.
Thank you to everyone who sent in your questions. Remember, send in your post-game thoughts and questions to our Gmail with a voicey. We'll start with Nick, who has these thoughts on LDU.
I was hoping it would be closer than that. LDU, my boy, you really need to start standing up when the club needs you, when the team needs you, and not when they're all playing well. You want this contract, you must lead by example.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I think he's been pretty good so far this year. As we've mentioned a few times on this pod, he's lower disposal, but he's having a higher impact when he gets it. He was really good and in our game against the D's. I don't think you can quite say that he's good when we're on top because he won our best and fairest in a 3-win season. But no, I understand his point as well, though. So hoping to see a little bit more midfield time from him because he's so dynamic and he's our best mid when all of them are on and at their best, he's our number one. So we want to see a little bit more from him next week. But you are allowed to have a quiet game.
We want the ball in his hands, and we've got to get Will, Phil, Parker, those people to get it to him. So that's why we're better when we're on top, or he's better when we're on top. Because if we don't get it to him, he's the offensive mid. He's not the defensive mid. And if we can't get it to him, he obviously hasn't got it. Mm. If they beat us in the kitchen, in the coalface, then he doesn't get as much of a sniff at it.
No, exactly. We might leave it there. Thank you very much, everyone, for sending in your questions. And for everyone who's followed us along the 100-pod journey, we thank you and stick with us. Plenty more content to come.
Yep. Tell a mate, a North supporter, have a listen.
Follow us on all the platforms. Subscribe, please. It costs nothing and it helps grow our pod Thank you very much again.
Yep, we'll be back later in the week for the big preview and go through the tipping. And I think I only got one wrong, so I'm coming up. I've given everyone a head start on the tipping. I started on page 3 of the ladder, and I'm on to page 2. All right, we'll wind up. Thanks for listening, and Khan the Kangas.
See you later in the week for the preview. Thanks again, guys. Go Roos!
Good old North Melbourne, they're champions, you'll agree. North Melbourne is the team that plays to win for you and me.